Chapter 14, An Old Friend. As morning arrived, the group convened downstairs, drawn by the aroma of breakfast and the promise of a new day. They gravitated towards a table tucked in a cozy corner of the room, where they settled in for a hearty meal together.
"The travel to Vladimir shouldn't be too difficult. The road is fairly straight,"
said Rigard.
"I am sure the trip there isn't bad. But the way fate has played us, I have other worries,"
laughed Tristan.
"You two are just a magnet for trouble. A trouble that I don't mind, though,"
laughed Putin.
"Well, if trouble had a flavor, we'd be the spice of life, wouldn't we?"
quipped Rigard, grinning mischievously.
"Trouble seems to find us like a moth to a flame, but hey, it keeps things interesting,"
replied Tristan with a chuckle. As they prepared their horses for the journey ahead, the air was filled with light banter and laughter, a welcome respite from the recent troubles that had befallen them. Rigard teased Tristan about his knack for finding trouble, while Tristan recounted a humorous tale from their previous adventures. The camaraderie between them was evident as they worked together to secure their supplies and saddle their mounts. Despite the weight of their recent experiences, there was a sense of optimism among the group as they set out on the road once more. The promise of new horizons and the thrill of the unknown spurred them onward, their laughter mingling with the sounds of hooves on the cobblestones. The first day of their journey unfolded under a clear sky, the warmth of the sun tempered by a gentle breeze that made their travels all the more enjoyable. As evening approached, they found a suitable spot to make camp, gathering wood for a fire while Tristan took charge of igniting it. Rigard's skill with a bow soon provided them with fresh game to roast over the flames, adding savory sustenance to their evening meal. With the campfire crackling and the scent of cooking meat filling the air, they settled in for the night, taking turns keeping watch as the others rested. Despite the remoteness of their surroundings, there was a sense of security in their companionship, each member of the group ready to protect the others should danger arise. As dawn broke, they extinguished the embers of their fire and packed up their camp, eager to resume their journey towards Vladimir. With renewed energy and spirits high, they set out once more, the road stretching ahead of them like a ribbon of promise leading towards their destination. As they drew nearer to the blockade, the figures ahead became clearer, revealing a group of about 20 armed men obstructing the road. Their stance was firm, and the glint of weapons hinted at their readiness for confrontation. Putin, Rigard, and Tristan exchanged wary glances, silently assessing the situation ahead.
"Bandits?"
asked Putin.
"Order of the Blood,"
stated Rigard.
"Surrender and face our justice. We will kill you painlessly,"
yelled Iskar.
"You will pay for your sins."
Putin chuckled nervously, casting a glance at Rigard and Tristan as the men from the Order of the Blood surged towards them.
"What have you gotten me into?"
he quipped, a hint of amusement mixed with apprehension in his voice. They all readied their weapons and prepared for the battle ahead. The three dismounted their horses to meet these men at their level. As one of the acolytes got close to Putin, he swings his sword, finding its mark at waist of the acolyte, almost cleaving this man in half. As three members of the order surged forward, their blades flashing in the sunlight, Rigard stood firm, his movements fluid and precise. With a series of calculated parries and counters, he expertly deflected their attacks, his swordsmanship a testament to years of training and experience. Each strike was met with a swift and controlled response, leaving the assailants momentarily off balance and vulnerable to Rigard's counterattacks. As Rigard skillfully deflected the attacks of the Order's members, a sudden burst of flame streaked past him, narrowly missing his head. The fiery projectile struck Iskar and a couple of his guards with devastating force, knocking them to the ground and leaving them writhing in pain from the intense burns. The unexpected attack provided a momentary distraction, allowing Rigard and his companions to gain the upper hand in the unfolding skirmish. Tristan backs up to ensure he is out of Rigard's anti-magic range. As two more members of the Order swung their swords towards Rigard, their strikes landed on his armor with a resounding clang. The sturdy metal absorbed much of the impact, leaving Rigard relatively unscathed as he swiftly countered their attacks. Rigard, surrounded by 5 acolytes, swings his sword, quickly decapitating the closest Order next to him, redirecting his second strike to decapitate the second. Putin swung a second blow towards one of the acolytes, cutting him in half at the waist. A second fireball flew past Putin, targeting Iskar's group once again. It struck with precision, taking out 3 more members of the Order of the Blood Acolytes and exacerbating the injuries sustained by Iskar and his guards. Rigard attacked the weapon of one of the acolytes using the deflection motion to cut deep into one of the acolyte's skulls, cutting the man's brain in 2. The second attack decapitated another acolyte. A look of worry crossed Iskar's face. He knew he was no match for these 3 together with the number of men he brought. It has been less than a minute and over half his men have been cut down. Iskar's panicked cry echoed through the chaos.
Retreat. Run. Run.
With urgency, he turned and fled, his followers scrambling after him as swiftly as they could manage.
Should we chase them?
Asked Putin.
No need. They will be back later, plus we need to keep going towards Vladimir.
Replied Rigard.
They would be a waste of time.
I guess we should keep on moving. Those guys are becoming just a nuisance now.
Tristan said. The trio swiftly mounted their horses, their hearts still racing from the skirmish with the Order of the Blood. Despite the briefness of the encounter, it had disrupted their journey and added an unwelcome layer of tension to their travels. As they rode on towards Vladimir, the adrenaline began to ebb, replaced by a sense of weary determination. Each of them silently contemplated the events that had transpired, pondering the implications and what lay ahead on their path. Yet, with steely resolve, they urged their horses forward, determined to press on despite the obstacles that may arise. After a couple hours they got to a place and decided that this wooded area would be a good place to set up camp for the night. This night went about the same as the night before. They set up camp, Tristan started the fire and Rigard hunted some food. With caution lingering in their minds, they established a rotating guard duty, each taking turns to watch over their camp to ensure their safety through the night. Despite the tension that still lingered from their encounter with the Order of Blood Acolytes, the night passed without incident, and they woke up feeling refreshed and ready to resume their journey. Packing up their camp, they mounted their horses once more, eager to put distance between themselves and any potential threats. As they rode on, the morning sun cast its golden light upon the land, illuminating their path ahead with a sense of newfound resolve. An hour or so into their 4th day on the road, a familiar individual was standing on the side of road attempting to wave them down. Wayland yelled,
"Come here, I have a message for you guys."
The 3 men approached Wayland and dismounted from their horses. Wayland grabbed each man by the forearm to shake their hands.
"I come with news from Eldaya. We need your help."
What do you need us to do?
Asked Rigard. Wayland responded,
"We need you all to go to Fosco and meet with one of our members named Sambla. He knows local guides for the area. He will help you get to the crystal keep in the desert savannah. We need you to get the crystal they are holding and bring it back to us safely. Eldaya needs it to close a rift."
Why can't you guys go and get it yourself? Why do you need our help?
Asked Putin.
"We can go to the crystal keep, but the only people who can retrieve the crystal are the ones imbued with the power of the power crystals, and right now you are the only 3 capable of getting the crystal. The longer we wait, more malice and evil will seep into our reality,"
stated Wayland.
We can help. Our business in Vladimir can wait.
Said Tristan. The group quickly agreed with Tristan.
"Thank you so much. I will go back to Eldaya and prepare for you all,"
exclaimed Wayland. The 3 men looked at each other and got back on their horses.
Foskim is a 3-day ride from here. We can take a boat to Fosco from there.
Said Rigard.
Why don't we take a portal to Fosco?
Asked Putin.
The closest place that may have portals is Vladimir or Kalin. That is not even guaranteed they will be there. And I do not have the ability to get in touch with my brother.
Answered Rigard.
We need to hurry, then let's ride.
Responded Putin. They all started to head towards Foskim.
Aren't you from Lumidris?
Asked Putin.
Yes, I will need to keep a low profile while I am there. I have recently somewhat repaired my relationship with my family, but it could be a distraction from what we need to accomplish. There are some leaders in Lumidris that are not friends with my family and might try to use me as an example or leverage against my family.
Sounds like drama.
Said Tristan.
Politics is nothing but drama. There is a reason I have disassociated from my family.
Quickly answered Rigard. With a nod of agreement, the trio mounted their horses, their gazes meeting in silent accord. Rigard's suggestion of taking a boat from Foskim resonated well with them. It offered a faster and perhaps safer route to their destination. As they set off, the rhythmic beat of their horses' hooves echoed against the backdrop of the open road, each stride carrying the As the sun set, the group set up camp and got a good night's rest. After a couple days of traveling, the group arrived in Foskim. As the group approached the port city of Foskim, the towering masts of ships docked along the harbor reached high into the sky, their sails billowing gently in the breeze. The salty scent of the sea filled the air, carried on the wind that swept through the bustling streets. Seagulls cried overhead. The city itself was vibrant and bustling, with merchants hawking their wares in colorful market stalls lining the streets. They saw dockworkers loading and unloading cargo from the numerous ships, their shouts and the clatter of crates blending with the constant hum of activity. They saw taverns and inns with weathered signs beckon travelers, promising warmth, food, and a place to rest weary bones. Beyond the harbor, the cityscape stretched out, a mix of quaint seaside dwellings and grander buildings, hinting at the city's history and prosperity. The first thing they did was find an inn to stay. They found a place called the Sleeping Gauntlet. They entered the Sleeping Gauntlet Inn, and it was a typical Bolan design with a bar/restaurant downstairs and rooms upstairs. They each got their own rooms. After they settled their horses in stables and their unneeded gear in their rooms, they met downstairs. They gather as a circle to talk to each other.
I think we should look for passage to Fosco right away,
stated Rigard.
That makes sense. The sooner we get the crystal, the sooner we can get to Vladimir,
Tristan said. In the bustling port town of Foskim, Tristan and Rigard departed from the inn in search of transportation to Fosco. As they walked through the bustling streets of Foskim, the group kept an eye out for any signs advertising passage to Fosco. The harbor was alive with activity, with sailors and merchants moving around, loading and unloading goods from the ships. Tristan and Rigard found themselves separated in the bustling harbor. Each went about their task independently, weaving through the crowds with determination. Despite being apart, their shared goal of finding passage to Fosco kept them focused as they scanned the harbor for a suitable ship. The cacophony of voices and the bustle of activity provided a backdrop to their search, adding to the sense of urgency as they sought out their means of transport. Meanwhile, Putin approached the young gentleman who was working at the front desk of the Sleeping Gauntlet and asked where they could find passage to Fosco. The young man responded that down by the docks is a place for independent captains, that they could hire an independent captain. They are usually faster but more expensive. They could also take a commercial travel, but it is much slower travel than many of the independent captains.
Thank you,
Putin said to the young man, appreciative of the information. With a nod, he made his way down to the docks, scanning the bustling scene for any signs of independent captains or ships offering passage to Fosco. As he walked, he kept an eye out for any vessels that seemed seaworthy and ready for departure. As they walked in, they noticed the tables were filled with people from all over Zathona, humans, elves, and dwarves. With everyone going their separate way to find transportation to Fosco, they were determined to find a quick and efficient transportation. They all made it through the labyrinthine streets of Foskim, following the directions provided by the young man at the front desk. Eventually, Rigard arrived at the Salty Crab, a bustling tavern found near the docks. The salty tang of the sea air mingled with the savory aroma of cooked seafood, creating an atmosphere that was both lively and inviting. As he entered the tavern, they were greeted by the sound of jovial chatter and the clinking of mugs. The interior was dimly lit, with wooden beams overhead and nautical decorations adorning the walls. At the bar, a burly man with weathered skin and a grizzled beard was serving drinks to a group of sailors, his booming voice filling the room as he regaled them with tales of the sea. Tristan and Putin soon arrived at the same location and exchanged a glance, silently reaffirming their purpose. They made their way through the crowded tavern, keeping an eye out for any captains who might be available for hire. Their journey to Fosco depended on finding the right vessel and crew to take them there swiftly and safely. Rigard noticed her weathered face bore the marks of countless voyages at sea, with lines etched by both sun and storm, telling the tale of a life lived on the open waters. Strands of salt-streaked hair framed her face, tied back in a practical bun to keep it out of her piercing blue eyes, which sparkled with a mixture of determination and wit. Dressed in worn but well-maintained sailor's attire, she exuded an air of rugged elegance, her leather boots planted firmly on the ground as if tethered to the ship she commanded. A faded captain's coat draped over her shoulders, adorned with patches and insignias earned through years of maritime experience. Despite her rough exterior, there was a warmth to her demeanor, a hint of camaraderie that spoke to the bonds forged among sailors on the high seas. As she conversed with the hairy dwarf beside her, her laughter rang out above the din of the tavern. Rigard approached the captain with a sense of determination, drawn to her aura of seasoned expertise and unwavering confidence. As he neared, he noticed the subtle sway of her movements, a testament to the rhythm of the ocean that coursed through her veins. With each step, he could feel the weight of his purpose pressing upon him, urging him to seek passage to Fosco and fulfill his quest. Clearing his throat, Rigard caught the captain's attention, and she turned to face him with a raised eyebrow, her eyes assessing him with a keen gaze. Despite her initial scrutiny, there was a glint of curiosity in her eyes, a spark of interest kindled by the prospect of a new adventure.
Captain, they call me Rigard.
Rigard began, his voice steady despite the nerves that churned within him.
My companion and I are in need of passage to Fosco. We seek swift passage and are willing to pay handsomely for your services.
He paused, waiting for her response, hoping that his offer would be met with acceptance rather than rejection.
I am Captain Marina. Have a seat and tell me more,
Marina said. Rigard sat down and they talked for a couple minutes. After some time, Rigard was able to get Putin and Tristan together to meet a captain he found. As they gathered around the table, they were greeted by the imposing figure of the female captain, her weathered face marked by the trials of a life spent at sea. Despite the weariness etched into her features, there was a steely resolve in her gaze, a testament to the strength and determination that defined her character.
I hear you need transportation to Lumidris.
Marina stated, her voice carrying the weight of command.
It will be 1,000 irons per person. You will need to leave your horses here.
Tristan's brows furrowed in disbelief.
That is almost double the cost of a commercial transport,
He exclaimed, his frustration evident in his tone.
I am the fastest ship in dock, and I can get you there in half the time anyone else can.
The captain said.
We could almost buy a ship for that amount.
Tristan said.
Who is going to navigate it? You?
The captain responded.
When can we leave?
Asked Putin.
Tomorrow morning, I will have everything prepared,
Replied Captain Marina.
That sounds good. We can be ready first thing in the morning.
Rigard said as they shook hands. Rigard, Putin, and Tristan left to get back to the sleeping gauntlet and set up boarding for their horses as they knew they might be gone for a while. As dawn broke over the port city of Foskim, Putin, Tristan, and Rigard hastily gathered their belongings and bid farewell to their faithful steeds, ensuring they were securely boarded for the duration of their voyage. With their provisions packed and their resolve steeled for the journey ahead, they set off towards the docks to meet the captain and embark on their next adventure. Navigating the bustling streets of Foskim, they soon reached the pier where the captain's vessel, the Salty Gale, was moored. The ship loomed tall against the backdrop of the morning sky, its sturdy frame a testament to the many voyages it had weathered. Approaching the gangplank, they spotted Captain Marina overseeing the final preparations for departure. With a nod of acknowledgement, they greeted her and conveyed their readiness to set sail. Captain Marina returned their greeting with a gruff nod of approval, motioning for them to come aboard. As they stepped onto the deck of the Salty Gale, the salty tang of the sea filled their nostrils, invigorating them with a sense of anticipation for the journey ahead. With their destiny set upon the horizon, they braced themselves for the trials and tribulations that awaited them on the open. The Salty Gale proved to be a smaller vessel, its design distinctive with an oddly shaped stern and aft that set it apart from other ships in the harbor. The sails, crafted from fine elvish cloth, bore the color of the ocean itself, blending seamlessly with the azure expanse above and below. This clever camouflage ensured that the ship could navigate the waters discreetly, evading unwanted attention from afar or from aerial observers. As they took in the sight of their chosen vessel, the adventurers couldn't help but admire the ingenuity of its design. It spoke of a captain who understood the importance of stealth and subtlety in their line of work, qualities that would undoubtedly serve them well on their voyage to Lumidris. With a sense of anticipation tinged with a hint of apprehension, they prepared to board the Salty Gale, eager to set sail and uncover the mysteries that awaited them across the vast expanse of the sea. As they boarded the ship, the sail spread out from the mast, and they set sail. As the land behind disappeared, Captain Murina lowered her sail and moved to the back of the ship and released two cylindrical objects into the water. A slight rumbling under the water began, and the ship began travel over 3 times the speed it was with the sails. Rigard, Tristan, and Putin got into a routine of spending time in their rooms. To time on the deck of ship, practiced their craft to pass the time. As the colossal sea beast breached the surface, its massive form towering over the small vessel, Rigard, Tristan, and Putin watched in awe and trepidation. The captain's explanation shed some light on the creature's presence, revealing the dangers that lurk beneath the waves near Bolin and the dreaded wasteland.
It's incredible.
Rigard remarked, his gaze fixed on the creature's immense bulk.
But also terrifying.
Tristan nodded in agreement, his expression reflecting a mixture of wonder and concern.
I've heard stories of sea beasts, but to see one up close like this.
Captain Murina looked over and said,
That is a sea beast. The waters around Bolin and the dreaded wasteland are filled with them. We are going at a good pace, and have Sastil on the bottom will make us almost invisible to all sea creatures underneath. It's almost as if they are protecting the desolate wasteland. It isn't uncommon for ships to disappear near Bolin and the desolate wasteland, even those with Sastil. He is far enough away, we should be all right.
Putin remained silent, his eyes narrowed as he studied the creature, his hand instinctively resting on the hilt of his sword. Despite Murina's reassurance, the sight of such a formidable predator stirred a sense of unease within him. As the sea beast disappeared beneath the waves once more, the tension on board began to ease slightly. Yet, the knowledge that they were sailing through waters teeming with such creatures served as a constant reminder of the perilous journey they had embarked upon. With Bolin and the desolate wasteland looming on the horizon, the adventurers braced themselves for whatever challenges lay ahead, their resolve strengthened by the trials they had already faced and the mysteries that awaited them beyond the horizon. As the sea beast gradually receded into the distance, the tension on board dissipated, replaced by a sense of relief tinged with awe at the spectacle they had seen. Rigard, Tristan, and Putin returned to their usual routine, finding solace in the familiar tasks that helped pass the time during their voyage. With each passing day, they drew closer to their destination, their anticipation building as they neared the shores of Fosco. Finally, after 2 weeks of travel, the towering spires and bustling harbor of Fosco came into view on the horizon, signaling the end of their journey across the sea. As the ship sailed into port, Rigard, Tristan, and Putin looked out upon the bustling cityscape before them, eager to begin the next chapter of their adventure in this new and unfamiliar land. With Fosco stretching out before them like a promise of new discoveries and challenges, they disembarked from the ship, ready to explore all that this vibrant coastal city had to offer. As they left the boat, Captain Murina told them,
I will be here for a couple weeks if you need transport back. I will be at the Rusty Crusty Inn.
The three assure her they would most likely look for him. The three walked down and found the first inn they could as they left the port. The Exotic Ducks Inn was not a clean or quiet place to stay. Downstairs the bar was filled with loud and obnoxious sailors. Women dressed in little clothes gave the sailors attention to get tips for the night. The three walked up to an elderly man with a peg leg and looked as if he has not showered in a week. They got their rooms and hurried up the stairs to get settled in.
I think for now I should keep a low profile and stay here, till we are all ready to meet with Sambla. They said he should be in the Temple of Light.
Putin replied.
That sounds good. We will head out first thing in the morning.
The three settled in and relaxed for the night. It was difficult to sleep with the loud partying and fighting downstairs, but soon the sounds just drowned in the background, and they were able to get some sleep. Putin's response was met with nods of agreement from Rigard and Tristan. They settled into their accommodations for the night, grateful for the chance to rest after their long journey. Despite the raucous commotion downstairs, exhaustion soon overtook them, and they drifted off to sleep, the sounds of revelry fading into the background as they succumbed to the embrace of slumber.